What if I told you that right now, underneath your feet, the ground is generating electricity? Not metaphorically, not in some new age spiritual sense. I mean real, measurable, electron transferring electrical current produced by bacteria that have been doing this for literally millions of years. And here's where it gets wild. In the early 1900s, a Kentucky farmer, not a scientist, not an engineer, a farmer, figured out how to harness that current to power lights and transmit wireless voice signals through the soil. Then, in the 1930s, that entire line of research quietly disappeared. Today, we're going to dig all of this up, literally. Because buried beneath centuries of forgotten science, ancient farming wisdom, and some very inconvenient truths for the fertilizer industry, is a system that could transform how every garden on Earth grows food. Let's go down the rabbit hole together. We start with wood, specifically with burying it. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would I bury perfectly good wood in my garden? And that is exactly the right question. Because the answer is going to reframe how you think about soil forever. This practice has a name, Hugelkultur. It comes from German and Eastern European farming traditions that are hundreds of years old. The word roughly translates to hill culture or mound culture. The concept is beautifully simple. You dig a trench, you fill it with logs, branches, wood chips, and organic debris, and then you pile soil on top to create a raised garden bed. But here's what's actually happening under that soil, and this is the part nobody tells you about. That buried wood becomes a sponge. Wood is incredibly porous. When it rains, buried logs absorb water and then release it slowly, like a natural reservoir just beneath your plant roots. We're not talking about a minor effect here. Many Hugelkultur practitioners report that after the second year of establishment, they stop irrigating entirely. The wood handles it. But moisture retention is just the beginning. As that wood decomposes, microbial activity creates something unexpected: heat. We're talking about the same process that makes a compost pile warm to the touch, except it's happening deep in the soil, and it's sustained over years, sometimes decades. This internal soil heating extends your growing season. We're talking several additional weeks in spring because your soil warms from the inside out, and several more weeks in autumn before that warmth depletes. For a gardener in a temperate climate, that's potentially 2 extra months of productive growing. That's enormous. And then there's the long game. As that wood fully breaks down over years, it releases a slow, steady supply of nutrients. Phosphorus, potassium, calcium, straight into the root zone. It's the difference between getting a paycheck once a week versus getting a single giant check dumped on you all at once. Sustained, consistent nutrition for your plants over years. But here's the thing about buried wood. It's just the foundation layer of something far more extraordinary. And to understand the next layer, we need to travel to the Amazon rainforest. About 2,000 years ago, indigenous Amazonians were farming some of the most nutrient-poor soil on the planet. The Amazon basin has what scientists call oxysols, ancient, heavily leached soils that are infertile, acidic, and essentially orange clay. Most civilizations would have given up on that land entirely. But these people, they simply didn't give up. Instead, they created something so extraordinary that modern soil scientists still can't fully replicate it. They called it Terra Preta, which in Portuguese means simply dark earth. And if you find a patch of it today, which you still can scattered across the Amazon, it stands out like a black scar against the surrounding orange clay. And it is alive in a way that normal soil simply isn't. What makes Terra Preta so special? The Amazonians mixed 2 key things into the native soil: organic waste from their settlements, bones, food scraps, manure, and biochar, charcoal that had been intentionally produced and buried in the soil. Here's the shocking part. After 2,000 years, that soil is still among the most fertile on Earth. It hasn't depleted. It hasn't washed away. It has persisted, self-renewing, across 2 millennia, while everything around it remains barren orange clay. Scientists study Terra Preta obsessively because it suggests something radical: that you don't just add fertility to soil, you can design soil that generates its own fertility indefinitely. So what is biochar actually doing in there? This is where the numbers get genuinely mind-bending. 1 single gram of wood-based biochar has a surface area of up to 9,000 square feet. 9,000 square feet from 1 gram. That's because biochar is not just porous. It's infinitely porous at the microscopic level. Every tiny cavity becomes a habitat for microbes and fungi. It's essentially a luxury apartment complex for the organisms that make soil alive. But biochar doesn't just host life, it actively holds nutrients. Biochar carries a negative surface charge. And most of the essential plant nutrients, calcium, potassium, magnesium, carry a positive charge. opposites attract. So biochar acts like a magnet, binding those nutrients and preventing them from washing out of the soil with rain. In a conventional garden, especially one that receives heavy rainfall, you can lose a significant proportion of applied nutrients to leaching. Biochar essentially stops that from happening. And then there's the carbon story. When you bury biochar, you're locking carbon into the soil in a form that is chemically stable for centuries. Unlike organic matter that decomposes and releases carbon back into the atmosphere, biochar stays put. Every cubic meter of biochar buried in a garden bed is carbon that was pulled from the air by a plant, converted into charcoal, and locked underground. Terra Preta is, accidentally, one of the most effective carbon sequestration systems ever discovered, and we've known about it for decades while the fertilizer industry sold us nitrogen in bags. Speaking of which, let's talk about what got buried alongside the biochar research. In 1841, a Scottish clockmaker and inventor named Alexander Bain made a discovery that should have changed the world. He took a plate of copper and a plate of zinc, buried them in damp ground, and connected them with a wire, creating a galvanic reaction that produces electrical current. His earth battery was modest in power, but it was steady and reliable, and he used it to power the world's first electric clock, powered by dirt, in 1841. Think about that for a moment, but Bain's earth battery was just the opening act. Decades later, a bizarre observation by Victorian telegraph workers added a piece to the puzzle that took over a century to explain. Workers noticed the grass directly above the buried lines grew visibly different, darker, denser, noticeably taller. The ground was run through with mild current, and the plants were thriving. Nobody could explain it at the time. It was recorded and filed and mostly forgotten, until Nathan Stubblefield. Nathan Stubblefield was a Kentucky farmer and self-taught inventor who developed what he called electrolytic coils, coiled copper and iron rods buried in the earth that harnessed ground-based electrical current to power lights in his farmhouse. Then, in 1902, he demonstrated something that shouldn't have been possible: wireless voice transmission. People heard his voice broadcast through the ground. He called it earth electricity, but his patents were disputed. His work was ridiculed. He died penniless and in obscurity. And in the 1930s, as the industrial nitrogen fertilizer industry was being built, research into electroculture quietly faded from mainstream science. A farmer who could grow better crops without purchased inputs would simply stop buying. The economic incentive to not fund that research was enormous. Here's what makes this more than conspiracy theory. In 2024, researchers at Northwestern University published a study confirming something that Stubblefield intuited a century earlier. Bacteria releasing electrons during decomposition generate measurable electrical current in soil. These are called exoelectrogens, microbes that, as part of their metabolic process, transfer electrons to external surfaces. They're essentially living batteries. And soil is full of them. Everywhere there is decomposition, wood breaking down, organic matter rotting. There are electrons moving through the ground. The study confirmed that this current is real, measurable, and consistent, but it gets even more interesting. Why would plant roots evolve to follow electricity? Because the zones of highest microbial activity, and therefore highest nutrients, are also the zones of highest electrical charge. A root that can follow electrical gradients is a root that can find food efficiently. You're not just feeding the plants, you're giving them a map. And now we come to zinc. This is where the chemistry gets truly elegant. Zinc slowly releases ions into the surrounding soil. Plants use those ions to synthesize tryptophan, the direct precursor to auxin, the master growth hormone, controlling root elongation, fruit development, and cellular division. More zinc availability means more tryptophan synthesis means more auxin, which means faster, healthier, more directional growth. Your garden is not just a compost heap, it is a self-powered, chemically active, electromagnetically dynamic ecosystem. Let's bring it all together, because when you understand how these three layers interact, the whole system clicks into place. The wood provides fuel, long-term decomposition, moisture retention, thermal mass, sustained nutrient release. It is the foundation, the slow engine underneath everything. The biochar provides structure. It catches and holds nutrients as they release from the wood. It hosts the microbial communities that generate electrical current. It connects the biological and electrical layers. 1 gram, 9,000 square feet of surface area. It is the most efficient natural battery housing ever discovered. And it's made from burning sticks. The copper and zinc provide current. The galvanic reaction between the two metals drives ions into the soil, mobilizes nutrients, creates the electrical gradients that plant roots follow, and delivers zinc specifically to power auxin production. Separately, each of these is a remarkable soil improvement technique. Together they form a closed-loop system where each element amplifies the others. The wood feeds the microbes generate current, the biochar captures nutrients and hosts more microbes, the metals drive zinc-auxin chemistry, and the electrical gradients guide roots toward the richest zones. This is not a stack of separate garden hacks, this is a system. And it's a system that the ancient Amazonians were running at scale, 2,000 years before we developed synthetic nitrogen fertilizer. I want to leave you with one thought. We live in a time of extraordinary agricultural crisis, soil degradation, water depletion, fertilizer costs, chemical runoff into waterways. These are not small problems. Global topsoil loss is being measured in decades, not centuries. We are farming the last few inches of productive earth on the surface of this planet, and we are doing it the same way we've done it since the 1940s, by adding chemicals manufactured from fossil fuels to ground that has been stripped of life. And underneath all of that is this ancient electrical biological system, documented in 1841 by a clockmaker in Scotland, practiced for centuries in Europe, perfected 2,000 years ago in the Amazon, and confirmed again in a laboratory in 2024. That works better than anything Monsanto ever put in a bag. Hugelkultur, biochar, earth electricity, electrotropism, Terra Preta. These are not fringe ideas. They are documented science and history, underfunded and underreported because they don't require you to buy anything on a recurring basis. The ground beneath your garden is alive. It is electrically active. It wants to grow things. Maybe it's time we stopped fighting it and started working with it instead. If this changed how you think about your soil, hit subscribe because we are going deeper into this rabbit hole. We're going to cover how to build a Hugelkultur bed, how to make biochar, and how to build a simple earth battery test rig. Drop in the comments. Have you ever tried Hugelkultur, biochar, or any form of electroculture? I want to know what happened.